Okay. Let's talk about beauty and beauty standards. I think you need to understand as a woman, one of the most important, and I know it's not fair. Sue me, it's not fair. But one of the most important things that you can do for yourself and your progression in the future is invest in yourself. By investing in yourself, I mean many things. I mean your education, I mean your mind, I mean your manifestations, I mean all of it. And if you've watched me and you've watched my TikTok and you've watched my Instagram and you watch me, you know that I'm talking about all of the things. But one of the things, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it and I'm not going to lie, one of the things you really need to invest in is yourself above him, above his rent, above his business, above his time, above his energy, is your beauty. Why? Because we as women are judged in this world on our beauty. And we can talk around and around until the cows come home about how it's not about our beauty, how it's not about this, how we're a person that is in our own right and we should be celebrated for who we are. And I love that. And that's great. And I will never stop developing my mind. The brain won't stop developing.
Hey, everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Oh, this is going to be a good one.
I hope so, too. Today, we're going to be talking about beauty standards.
Oh, yeah.
Societal beauty standards and really how they impact women.
It's a big one.
It is. And to do that, we're going to be taking a look at a YouTube video by influencer Margarita Nazarenko.
I've heard of her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you seen this video?
I have not seen this particular one.
Okay, cool. So this one's called No Holds Barred, the bare minimum to obtain pretty privilege.
Okay, straight to the point.
Yes, very much so. And I think before we even jump in, it's important to think about, why are we even talking about this, you know?
Why should we care?
Yeah, exactly. Why should we care about beauty standards? And I think the reason is because it impacts all of us.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Whether we realize it or not, it affects how we see ourselves, how we're treated by others, even how companies market to us, I
would think about all the ads we see every day.
Oh, my gosh.
They're constantly telling us how we should look.
Exactly. So this is something that whether you're, super into beauty and fashion or you just kind of, are existing in the world, this stuff matters.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
It is. So to kind of give you a little background on Margarita Nazarenko, she's known for being very straight, talking no nonsense.
I like her already.
Yeah, she kind of tells it like it is.
Okay.
So some people find her a little controversial.
Understandable.
Yeah, but she's all about empowering women.
Well, that's what we like to hear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think, she's going to fit right in with the vibe of this deep dive.
I'm excited to hear what she has to say.
So one of the things that I found really interesting about her video is that she doesn't shy away from the hard truths,
Okay, lay it on me.
So she really tackles the fact that a lot of times beauty standards are used against us.
What do you mean?
Well, she talks about how brands use these standards to push products that are really just preying on our insecurities.
Oh, yeah, totally. Making us feel like we need to buy something to fix ourselves.
Exactly. And her advice is be a smart woman.
I love that.
Right.
Be a smart woman.
Think critically.
Yes.
Don't just buy into every trend.
Because not every trend is for you.
Exactly. And I think that's so important because there's so much pressure, to keep up with whatever's, the hot new thing.
It's like a never-ending cycle.
It is. And it can be really exhausting and expensive,
Absolutely.
trying to chase all of that. So I love that she's just be smart about it. Think for yourself.
Yeah, be intentional.
Yes. And another thing that she really emphasizes is playing up your existing strengths.
Okay, I like that.
Instead of trying to chase after, some unattainable ideal.
Right, because we all have our own unique beauty.
Exactly. And she actually uses herself as an example. She's talked about how she loves wearing backless dresses.
Right.
But she knows that maybe because of, her bust size, that they might not always be the most flattering choice for her.
Sure. It's about knowing what works for you.
Exactly. And it's about working with what you've got and owning it.
I love that.
Right.
It's about confidence.
It is. And she kind of summarizes this whole idea with this great metaphor of the goddess.
The goddess.
Yes.
Okay.
And this idea of the goddess is really all about embracing your individuality and your inner confidence.
So it's not just about how you look.
No, it's about how you feel.
It's about that inner strength.
Yeah, and I think that's so important because so much of, beauty and how we perceive ourselves is tied to how we feel on the inside.
Absolutely. If you feel good about yourself, it shows.
It does. It radiates.
Yeah.
So I love that she really brings that to the forefront.
Okay, so I've got the inner goddess.
Yes.
But what about the outer stuff?
Okay, so she gets real about that too.
Okay, tell me more.
She talks about how, we see this effortless beauty everywhere.
Oh, yeah, like that. I woke up like this. Look!
Exactly.
That takes like 3 hours to achieve.
And she claims that's often a very carefully constructed illusion.
Like it takes work.
Right. Like it's not effortless.
Right. It's not effortless at all. And I think it's important to talk about this because there's so much pressure on women, especially, to appear effortlessly flawless.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like we're supposed to just magically look perfect.
Without even trying.
And it's so damaging.
It is.
To our self-esteem.
Yeah, because it sets up this unrealistic standard.
Totally. And then we feel bad when we can't achieve it.
Exactly.
Which is like almost impossible.
Yeah, it's like this unspoken rule that you have to look naturally perfect.
Right.
Even if it takes hours of work.
Which it usually does.
Yeah. Yes. So she actually breaks down her own routine in the video.
Oh, does she?
She does.
Oh.
And she gives specific tips on everything.
Oh, wow. Okay, like what?
Like hair care.
Okay.
Tanning. Skincare, manicure.
Like the whole 9 yards?
Yeah, like she really goes into detail. And I think the takeaway here is that it's not about being low maintenance.
Okay.
It's about making smart investments in your appearance.
Yes.
So it's not about being lazy.
No.
It's about being strategic.
Exactly. And she even suggests prioritizing these beauty investments over things like your daily latte.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I know, right?
But I get it.
Yeah.
It's about priorities.
It is. And I think that's such a good point. It makes you think about where are you putting your time, your money, your energy.
Yeah. Are you spending it on things that actually matter to you?
Exactly. And are those things aligned with what you truly value?
I think that's a great question for everyone to ask themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, okay.
So here's where things get even more interesting.
Okay, I'm ready.
Nazarenko dives into the differences between male and female beauty standards.
Oh, yeah.
And this is where it's like, okay, it's not just about looking good in general. It's about navigating this really complex interplay of appealing to yourself.
Yeah.
But also, let's face it, the male gaze.
The male gaze. Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit.
Okay.
What do we mean by the male gaze?
So the male gaze is this idea that a lot of times women are viewed and judged based on how they appeal to a masculine perspective.
Okay.
And this can be really limiting.
Oh, for sure.
And objectifying.
Yeah, it reduces women to objects.
It does,
Instead of seeing them as whole people.
Exactly.
With their own thoughts and feelings and, ambitions.
Well, exactly. So it's like we're constantly trying to balance this cool girl aesthetic.
Oh, the cool girl.
The
one who's like effortless and chill and doesn't care.
Yes.
But also like secretly cares a lot.
Right, exactly. With the pressure of fitting into what society deems traditionally attractive to men.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a lot to juggle.
It is. And it's like this tough tightrope to walk,
It's exhausting.
Yeah. And I think Nazarenko really highlights the importance of self-awareness here.
Okay, self-awareness. How so?
Like she's asking us to really think about, who are you dressing for?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Are you doing it for yourself? Are you doing it for societal approval? Are you doing it to attract a partner?
Or maybe all of the above.
Right. Or maybe a combination of all of those things. And how do those motivations influence the choices that you make?
I mean, that's something we don't always think about.
Right. We just kind of do it.
Just go through the motions.
Right. Exactly. And she also drops this little truth bomb.
Hit me.
About guys who criticize women for putting effort into their appearance.
Oh, yeah.
And she suggests that maybe, just maybe they're trying to control or limit their partners.
Ooh, that's an interesting perspective.
Right.
It's like they don't want you to feel too confident.
Yeah, or too independent.
Right. It's about power.
It's about maintaining a certain power dynamic. And I think that's something that's really important to be aware of.
Definitely something to think about.
Yeah, are the people in your life genuinely supportive?
Yeah.
Or are they trying to manipulate you?
It's a big question.
It is. It is. And it's not always easy to answer.
Especially if you're in a relationship where you feel like, you're supposed to trust this person.
Right.
But it's important to be honest with yourself.
Yes. It is. Okay, so let's dive into this concept of pretty privilege itself.
Okay, pretty privilege.
Yes, Nazarenko doesn't shy away from this term at all.
Okay. It's a loaded one.
It is.
For sure.
She acknowledges that, yes, attractive people are often treated better.
I mean, we've all seen it.
We have.
It's a real thing.
It is, but instead of just complaining about it or saying it's not fair.
Right.
She challenges us to think about how we can create our own version of pretty privilege.
Okay, so she's not denying it exists.
No.
She's saying, like, let's work with it.
Exactly. And I think what's really powerful here is that she's not talking about just conforming to societal standards.
Okay.
It's about taking control of your appearance, investing in self-care, and projecting the kind of confidence that commands attention and respect.
Oh, I like that.
Right.
It's about owning your power.
Yes. And she believes that everyone has the potential to be the most beautiful person in their environment.
Okay. So it's not just about, like, winning the genetic lottery.
Right.
It's about putting in the effort.
Exactly. And it's about recognizing that beauty is not just about, how society might define conventional beauty.
It's about how you define it for yourself.
Exactly.
So how do we do that?
I love how she flips the script.
Yeah. Give us the steps.
She gets super specific.
Oh, okay. I'm taking notes.
So get ready for like a deep dive into some concrete steps because she talks about everything.
Hit me with it.
From skincare and hair to posture and clothes.
Okay. So it's a whole package deal.
It is.
It's not just about slapping on some lipstick.
It's not just about slapping on some lipstick and calling it a day.
Okay. So let's start with skin.
Okay.
Because I feel like that's like the first thing people notice.
It's often the first thing people notice, and Nazarenko really emphasizes a holistic approach.
Holistic. Okay.
So she talks about the importance of both internal health.
Okay. So like what you're putting into your body.
Yes. So things like hormones and diet.
Okay.
But then also external care.
So like skincare products.
Yes, exactly. Like seeing a dermatologist, taking care of your skin from the outside.
So it's inside and out?
Yes, and she actually mentions that she personally follows a paleo and keto diet.
Okay.
But she stresses that what works for one person might not work for another.
Right. Everyone's different.
Yes. So it's all about figuring out what works for your unique body.
Yeah. You got to find what works for you.
And when it comes to hair...
Okay, let's talk hair.
She's a huge advocate for focusing on nutrition.
Makes sense.
Healthy
hair comes from a healthy body.
That whole beauty comes from within idea.
Right.
She walks the walk,
She practices what she preaches.
She does, and she also has some great tips for styling those bad hair days.
Oh, we all have them.
We do.
So what does she suggest?
Yeah. Things like sleek ponytails, loose waves, just having those strategies in place.
Okay, so you have a backup plan.
Yeah.
When your hair just isn't cooperating.
Exactly. So you never feel less than your best.
I love that.
Right. And it's those little things, you know.
Little tricks.
Yes. Those strategies and routines that can make a huge difference in how you feel about yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
Even on the days when you don't wake up feeling like $1,000,000.
Yeah, we all have those days.
We do. She's also a big fan of experimenting with brows and lashes.
Okay.
She shares some of her personal preferences.
Huh.
But again, it's all about finding what makes you feel confident and beautiful.
Yeah, not following someone else's blueprint.
Exactly. And I think that's so key.
Because what works for one person might not work for another.
Exactly. And what we find appealing or empowering can change.
Yes.
As we grow and evolve as people.
Absolutely. It's about staying curious.
Yes.
And open to exploring different sides of ourselves.
I love that. Okay. Are you ready for this?
Hit me.
She actually emphasizes the power of good posture and confident body language.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's not just about how you look.
Right.
It's how you carry yourself.
It's about that energy you project.
Yes. And think about it. Someone who stands tall and walks with purpose automatically projects this aura of confidence.
It's like they command attention.
They do.
Without even saying a word.
And that can be incredibly attractive.
Oh, yeah.
And impactful.
It's like an instant pretty privilege boost.
Right.
Just from how you hold yourself.
Exactly. And it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter what you look like.
It doesn't matter what your physical attributes are.
It's about that inner confidence shining through.
Exactly. And it's about commanding respect.
Yes.
Before you even say a word.
I love that.
And when it comes to clothes.
Okay, let's talk fashion.
Nazarenko is all about quality over quantity.
I like her style.
Right?
So it's not about having a closet full of clothes.
No.
It's about having a few key pieces.
Exactly. She encourages investing in pieces that flatter your body type.
Yeah.
Rather than chasing every fleeting trend.
Because trends come and go.
They do.
But style is forever.
Yes. And she actually tells this funny story about how oversized blazers were really trendy.
Oh, yeah.
But they ended up making her look frumpy.
Oh, no.
And it's a good reminder that not everything that looks good on the runway is going to translate well in real life.
It's about knowing your body.
Yes.
And what looks good on you.
And I think what's important here is that she's not saying you shouldn't experiment with fashion or have fun with trends.
Right.
It's more about being mindful and making sure that your clothes reflect your personal style.
Yeah, and that they make you feel good.
Yes. And last but certainly not least,
Okay, bring it on.
she stresses the importance of attitude.
Oh, attitude is everything.
It is. And she talks about cultivating a playful feminine energy
Okay.
that also allows men to feel masculine.
Okay, so it's about finding that balance
Yes.
between being feminine and also...
And also not threatening.
Right.
You know?
Not emasculating.
Yes, exactly. And I think it's really about understanding those sometimes tricky social dynamics.
It's like knowing how to navigate those unspoken rules.
Yes, and knowing how to present yourself in different situations.
Yeah, that's a skill.
It is. So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
You know?
There was a lot of information.
Yeah, and I think, Nazarenko's perspective on achieving pretty privilege is definitely comprehensive.
Oh, yeah, she touched on everything.
She did. She touched on everything from skincare and hair to mindset and social dynamics.
The whole approach.
It is. What really stood out to you from this first part of our deep dive?
I think what's so fascinating is how she blends the practical advice with these deeper insights into the psychology of beauty and the power of self-perception.
Yes.
It's not just about surface-level changes.
Yeah.
It's about understanding how all of these factors, both internal and external, shape how we see ourselves and how others see us.
Exactly. And while she acknowledges that there are real benefits to looking good, she also encourages us to define beauty on our own terms.
I love that.
Right.
It's about empowerment.
Yes, it's about owning your narrative.
Exactly.
And finding what makes you feel truly confident and radiant.
I think that's a great message.
Yeah, but this brings up a really important question.
Okay, what's that?
Can you actually achieve pretty privilege without compromising your authenticity?
Ooh.
And if so, how do you navigate those sometimes tricky waters?
That's a good question.
So we're going to explore those questions and more in the next part of our deep dive.
Can't wait.
So stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive.
Yeah.
As we're kind of unpacking all this advice from Margarita Nazarenko, it's clear she's not just advocating for like superficial changes, right?
Right.
It's deeper than that.
Yeah.
It's about using your appearance to boost your confidence and, potentially even like open doors. But is that empowering or is that kind of problematic?
Right. Is that like playing into the system?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, on the one hand, like recognizing the role that appearance plays in social interactions can be really empowering.
Yeah.
It's like you're taking control, you're making deliberate choices to achieve your goals.
Right. You're not just passively accepting whatever society dictates.
Exactly like Nazarenko says, you can choose to be the most beautiful person in the room. It's about effort and mindset.
But then there's that other side of it, right?
Yes.
Like, are we just buying into a system that already prioritizes beauty over other qualities?
Yes, over intelligence, over kindness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where I think critical thinking comes in.
Yeah.
Like, we can't ignore that pretty privilege exists, but we can choose how we engage with it.
Right.
Do we perpetuate those superficial standards or do we challenge them?
It's almost like she's saying, play the game,
Yeah.
but rewrite the rules as you go.
Exactly. And I think by doing that, by owning our choices, we reclaim some of that agency
Yes.
in a system that often feels very rigged.
Yeah. Like, we can choose to use this awareness to lift other people up,
Yes.
to celebrate different types of beauty, and to really challenge those narrow, outdated ideals.
Absolutely.
And one thing that really struck me is how much she emphasizes individuality.
Okay.
Like she's really encouraging women to find what works for them.
Right.
Not just blindly follow trends.
And that's where I think her goddess metaphor really comes into play.
Yes.
It's about unearthing your own unique beauty.
Yes.
And expressing it authentically.
Owning your power.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she even cautions against trends that might not be universally flattering.
Right. Not everything looks good on everyone.
Like those oversized blazers that she talked about.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that not every must-have item is going to work for everybody type.
Right. It's about being discerning.
Yes.
Understanding your body, your style.
What makes you feel confident. And honestly, sometimes it takes a little trial and error to figure that out.
It does. And now, some people might argue that focusing on appearance at all is inherently superficial.
Right. Like, it shouldn't matter.
But Nazarenko seems to view it as a form of self-care.
Okay.
Like almost a ritual.
It's interesting, right? Because it kind of flips the script on that whole beauty is only skin deep idea.
Yes.
She's saying that when you invest time in your appearance, it can actually have a positive impact on how you feel.
Yeah, it can boost your self-esteem.
Yeah.
It can boost your overall well-being.
It's like taking care of yourself.
Yes, and remember, she talks about prioritizing these investments over things like frivolous spending.
Right. It's about making conscious choices with your money.
Yes.
Your time, your energy.
Exactly. Like, are you investing in things that truly nourish you?
Yeah.
Inside and out?
Or are you just trying to impress people you don't even like?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Okay. Let's circle back to this whole idea of navigating male and female beauty standards.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's like she's saying, be aware of the game, but don't let it define you.
Don't let it consume you.
Right. And I think she's trying to empower women to make informed choices.
Yeah.
You know, like whether you're aiming to attract a partner or just feel confident in your own skin.
Right.
It's about understanding those nuances of social dynamics.
Okay.
And making choices that align with your personal goals.
Like, what do you want?
Yes, exactly. And remember, she doesn't hold back when it comes to calling out guys who shame women.
Oh, yeah.
For putting effort into their appearance.
Like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, and she suggests that maybe it's a form of control.
Right, like they don't want you to feel too good about yourself.
Yeah, or too independent.
Right.
And that can be really hard to recognize those red flags.
Oh, yeah, especially when you're in a relationship.
Yeah.
And you trust this person.
You're supposed to trust this person.
Yeah.
So it's about asking yourself those tough questions.
Yeah.
Like, is your partner truly supportive and encouraging?
Uh-huh.
Or are they trying to undermine your confidence and control your choices?
That's a big one.
It is.
Those are tough questions, but they're important to ask.
They are. So where does all of this leave us?
Right. Like, what's the takeaway?
Is pretty privilege something to be celebrated, rejected, or navigated strategically?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is. And I think Nazarenko's perspective really adds fuel to that fire.
She does.
You know, she's pushing us to think critically about beauty standards and how they impact our lives.
Absolutely, both personally and collectively.
And I feel like she's not offering easy answers.
No.
But she's asking the right questions.
And that's what makes this conversation so interesting.
Yeah.
It's not about right or wrong. It's about sparking self-reflection and encouraging people to make choices that feel authentic and empowering.
It's about encouraging women to define beauty on their own terms.
Yes.
And create their own rules.
I love that.
And own their narrative.
Yeah.
And find what makes them feel confident and radiant.
That's a great message.
Yeah. But how do we balance this personal empowerment with the larger societal implications of pretty privilege?
Right, because it's a bigger conversation.
It is. So we're going to delve into those questions and more in the final part of our deep dive.
Ooh, can't wait.
So stay with us. Okay, so we're back, wrapping up our deep dive into Margarita Nazarenko and, you know, this whole pretty privilege thing.
Yeah, it's a fascinating topic, but I got to say, it can be a little bit of a minefield.
Totally. Like, where do you even begin?
Right, like it's this delicate balance between, you know, acknowledging that looking good can have some benefits, but also like challenging the system that tells us what looking good even means.
Yeah, it feels like a paradox.
It does.
Because Nazarenko is encouraging women to tap into pretty privilege, but at the same time, she's saying define beauty on your own terms.
Right.
So how do we reconcile those two things?
I think it comes down to agency, you know?
Okay.
Like, yeah, societal standards exist, but we don't have to just blindly accept them.
Okay.
We can choose how we engage with them.
So, like, play the game, but play it smart.
Exactly. Like, we can use those standards to our advantage. But we can also choose to subvert them and redefine beauty in a way that feels authentic to us.
So it's like know the rules, but then break them strategically.
Exactly. And I think when we do that, when we're intentional about our choices, we're sending a message, you know?
What kind of message?
A message that says, I'm not playing by your rules. I'm defining beauty for myself.
I love that.
Right?
Okay, but how do we actually do that?
It's tricky.
It is. Like, how do we avoid perpetuating those harmful stereotypes while still acknowledging that looking good can have some real-world advantages?
Right. It's a nuanced conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think a lot of it comes down to critical thinking, you know? We have to be aware of the potential pitfalls of pretty privilege
Uh-huh.
and recognize that it can create unfair advantages
Right.
and contribute to this culture that values surface-level stuff over substance.
So it's about checking our own biases.
Absolutely, both conscious and unconscious.
Like, are we judging other people based on how they look?
Yeah.
Are we letting those societal messages dictate our own self-worth?
Those are important questions to ask ourselves.
They are. And I think it's also about promoting diversity
Yeah.
and inclusivity, you know?
Like challenging those narrow definitions of beauty.
Exactly. Like,
Mm.
let's celebrate a wider range of body types,
Yeah.
ethnicities, expressions of beauty.
Absolutely, because beauty comes in so many different forms.
It does. And it's about shifting that focus from external validation to internal confidence,
Right.
recognizing that true beauty comes from within.
And that's where I think Nazarenko's emphasis on self-care is so important.
Yeah.
It's not just about looking good.
All right.
It's about feeling good.
Taking care of yourself.
It's exactly like your physical health, your mental health, your emotional well-being.
And recognizing that confidence is magnetic
It is.
and that authenticity is way more compelling than trying to fit into some mold.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
what are your final thoughts?
I think pretty privilege is complicated.
Uh-huh.
You know, it has its benefits, but it also has its challenges.
Right.
And I think Nazarenko's insights are a great starting point for this conversation.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's up to each of us to decide how we want to navigate this whole thing.
So we can choose to use it strategically
Mm.
to our advantage.
Yeah.
But we also have a responsibility to challenge those stereotypes and
Absolutely.
promote a more inclusive definition of beauty.
Because beauty is for everyone.
It is, and I don't think there's like a perfect solution.
No.
It's about finding what works for you,
Yeah.
what aligns with your values, and what helps you feel confident and empowered.
Exactly.
And that's the beauty of it all, right?
It is.
There's no one-size-fits-all answer.
It's a journey.
It is.
And it's about creating a more equitable and accepting world
Yes.
where we celebrate beauty in all its different forms.
I love that. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. And until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring,
And keep shining.
and keep shining.